Good morning. It's bright and early on a Saturday, and I'm heading back to the gallery because there wasn't enough time to finish everything yesterday. I mean, my stuff is all framed, so I'm gonna see if I can help. I don't know who else needs to frame their stuff. Also, we have to lay out the show, and I've curated shows before, and besides the ones that I've put together, I've also been on the teams that hang shows. And typically how you do that is you kind of get everyone together, maybe place the biggest pieces first as anchor pieces, or if there's something that you just want to be a focal point, you place those first, and then everyone works together to see kind of what looks good together. And yesterday everyone was just no, just pick the place where you want some of your paintings to be, and then everyone else will pick other places. I'm that doesn't work, because there's limited space and we have 11 people, so obviously there's going to be some overlap in the spaces that people might quote want. So I don't know. So that was already happening last night when I left, and I was just yeah, bye. I had my fill yesterday. No one was listening, and it was just, not even just to me, no one was listening to each other, and it was just a thing. So I was yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And then I was so mad when I realized it's Saturday, and the only reason I have to come in on a Saturday is because no one had their shit together and people are still painting up to yesterday. Yeah, I'm not starting off on the best foot, but I'm gonna try and turn it around. Day 3. Everything's pretty much hung up now. We have, you can see a lot of cleaning up and stuff to do. I think they're hanging the last couple pieces right now. Yeah, yesterday, I don't know, it was 9:30 or something. I don't know, whatever time I got here. My professor didn't get here till, I think it was 5 o'clock. It was pretty late. And then we didn't leave until 10:30. And exactly what I thought was going to happen happened, where it's you can't just be oh, I want this space, and I want this space, and so-and-so will take this space. You can't just do that. Certain things don't look good in certain spaces, with the things that are around it. Once they laid everything out, my professor came in and was giving suggestions, and we ended up changing everything, so it took a long time. But yeah, so that's done. And then I also yesterday had to this painting is from forever ago. I don't know if you guys would remember. It used to be at my house on the easel for a year. But when I brought it to the studio, maybe sometime last semester, early last semester, it was setting, because it has this piece hanging down, so it was setting on top of other paintings. And I think when I wasn't there, people were looking through my paintings, which is really annoying, because I notice a lot of times when I come in, things are moved, and my paintings have been gone through or whatever, or someone who wasn't careful might have been holding a paintbrush or had paint on their hand and touches my paintings with oil paint, and it really drives me nuts. But anyway, so you can see how well, I think you could see how this is all creased. This whole wing was like that. So when we hung it up, I thought it was gonna be okay, but honestly, once we hung it up, it really looked awful. So I just painted a new wing yesterday. But besides that, it's mostly been okay. like as far as my paintings go. Yeah, everything is looking pretty good. We like posted all the invitations and stuff, and we've gotten a lot of interest in it, which is good because it's a lot of work. And sorry, my arm is tired, so I'm like holding my phone sideways. My legs are so sore from like the first day when we were doing the frames, and I just have to be like in an Asian squat for like hours. Yeah, my legs are really sore. Otherwise, it's fine. We're almost done. Should be the last day that we're working on like any technical stuff, like anything like hanging things, cleaning up, stuff like that. It's coming together, and thank God, because I want to be done with this. I'm tired. I want to go home, and honestly, I want to study. I haven't studied in a couple days because I've just been here until like late. So yeah, let's get it done. about 3:30 in the afternoon. Just got back from an excruciatingly long and very drunk, not on my part, but very drunk lunch. All the professors and, you know, my classmates and a couple, you know, other people. Exhibition opening was today. It was like really a massive hit, which is like, I think like it had a better reception than any of us really expected it to, which is really cool. Yeah, I'm really tired. I'm gonna get back to the house and I'll like give you guys some of my final thoughts on it. You know, I read something the other day that said that like these kinds of drinks, like specifically like boba and stuff, should really only be a once in a blue moon type treat because it puts you at a really high risk for diabetes. But you know what? 我每天喝一个大杯和全糖的. I don't care. I mean, I care. But we all have our vices, right? Yeah, today was a show and it was a lot. Like, I mean, it was good. Everything was really good. We ended up not having any of the students talk like in the beginning, you know, to open the show, which I think was a good thing because we were all in it together. And like it would have been weird to single out like one or two people, which we were initially. I say we, I'm including myself in this, although this was not my idea. And I didn't want to do this, but we were originally gonna have, you know, one or two people speak. It would have been me and one other person, and I felt like it was tokenizing and kind of against like what I really wanted to do with my paintings. And like, you know, that's like the whole point of why I'm painting what I'm painting, and I'm gonna talk about that. Like I keep saying like, oh, I'll tell you guys about my thesis and stuff. I'm gonna tell you about it because then we're all gonna be on the same page. I don't know if I've like really gone into details about it, but like you guys can kind of see where my mind is going and like, you know, kind of get an idea for what I like want to do. So we had my professor, a couple of other professors spoke, my advisor spoke. So I learned something today that I didn't know, that actually this show was the first time that, so there's like different classes, you know, different studio classes. Like each studio, you know, usually whenever there's a show, it's like all the studios together, or it's usually the graduation exhibition, which is like different, like it's painting, printmaking, calligraphy, all different things together. This was actually the first time that a single studio, put on a show by themselves. Like I didn't realize, but people are like crediting me with that. And I don't know, I think that's like a misunderstanding. A year ago, my professor had wanted to put on an exhibition. He was like, oh, it'd be cool if we could just put on an exhibition, like just our studio. But then there was some damage done, some like water damage in the gallery. So it didn't happen. So I kept asking, I'm like, hey, like, you know, when are we gonna get to do that exhibition? When are we gonna get to do that show? Like I love, it's so much work, but it's like really worth it to see everyone come together and like see people being like, you know, like wowed by the work that we've done and stuff. Just to like that moment of pride. It's like, yeah, like I did this and like we all had a part in this. I don't know, I just like enjoy that, and I like going and like looking at art obviously and doing all that stuff. So it's just like, I don't know, it's just fun. I like to do that. But my professor like really was like, yeah, no, I know that you wanted to put on this exhibition, and he was like, this is a Christmas present, you know. And I'm like what? So anyway, I think I said ultimately 17 paintings. Of those 17 paintings, I think maybe 5 of them were other people and the other 12 were self-portraits. I think that's probably right. You know, people that were asking me about my paintings were asking, you know, what my inspiration was or what kind of ideas I had behind each painting. So I had to like kind of go into it without being too specific, because some of the situations that I painted about that were like not my favorite were like happening at the show, and I didn't want to make anyone feel awkward. And by that I mean, like, for example, the one painting where I've got the like mosaic. I'm actually wearing this shirt in that painting. It's got the Microsoft Paint border, and then there's like a drop down menu like under the cursor that says like, I think it says use object, and I have my phone. So that painting, like, people were asking about that one in particular. They're like, oh, can you like introduce us, you know, what your idea was for that painting? So that painting in particular is called, it's called Weixin, which is like WeChat. And at the top part, you know, like when you're on Microsoft, like in Paint, it'll show that it'll be like Paint, and then it'll show the title. It might be like, you know, Untitled or whatever. It says like in Chinese, like, can I add your WeChat? And the idea behind that is like, so many people see me and they're like, wow, like, you know, can I take a picture with you? Can I add your WeChat? Can I, like, whatever? And it's like, they don't really care who I am. You know, they just see that I'm not from here, and they just like want to take a picture or want to, like, you know, add me. And then like I see them post the picture like, oh, with my foreign friend, and I'm like, you didn't even tell me your name. You know, like it's like a little bit weird. So like that painting is about that, and it's about being objectified and like kind of being put into like a program where people can just create you into whatever they think you're gonna be. So it doesn't matter, like they erase your identity and just like put you into whatever like they think you're gonna be, like making something in Photoshop or Paint. That's why my eyes are crossed out. Doesn't matter who I am, you know, but I got my phone, I'm ready to add your WeChat, ready to take that picture. So like most of my paintings have that kind of sentiment. They're not all bad. Like I you know, and I don't want anyone, they're not like all bad situations. Like that one's kind of like an icky one. Then there are other ones that are just neutral or positive. They're all just kind of about my experience in being here. For example, like the blue and red one, it's like when you're playing a video game or when you're, I don't know, reading a book or something, and it's just like, you know, you're kind of like separated from reality in a way. Like that's that kind of feeling. Like sometimes I think about the situation that I have here, where it's like living on the other side of the world from where I grew up, like going to school, getting a degree, speaking a second language, like a lot of these things, especially like speaking another language and living in a different country, I think for a lot of Americans is like a very surreal thing. This is like watching a movie or hearing you, this is like something you hear about, but it's like never something I imagined myself doing. You know, it's like, what are, like if you had a bucket list, like what are the things that are on it? It's like people are like, yeah, I want to live in a different country, or like I want to speak another language. For things that I would put on my bucket list that I thought were unattainable, like this was definitely on there. You know, like I never actually saw myself doing this kind of thing, but here I am. It's a little bit like surreal, a little bit weird. Yeah, and I'm like, that's, you know, what I'm painting about. And then there's positive ones about how, like, you know, my friends have been really accepting and all that stuff. I'm not gonna go into each and every one of them. It's like weird enough when I write my thesis or like when I have to give presentations to go into like every little, like, this symbolizes this, and I use this color because of this. Like that feels weird to me, you know, to have to talk about my art in that way. Like it's one thing when you're studying like in a class in art history and like someone from like, you know, 100+ years ago, like you're looking at their painting and you're like, oh, I think this symbolized this, or this meant this, or, you know, they painted this way because they were feeling this. But it's like weird to like do it, like talk about your own paintings that way. So I'm not gonna go into all of them. Actually, one of you guys asked a little bit about like the vaporwave thing. So I decided to incorporate some elements from like the quote vaporwave aesthetic, just some different colors and maybe some like the, you know, computer imagery or kind of that like nostalgic feeling, because I just think like the idea of how vaporwave imagery started to represent, like for my generation, it's like we were really the first ones to be really connected to one another through the internet. That doesn't really replace a human connection. You know, a lot of it is about being lonely, being sad, nostalgia for like simpler times, that kind of stuff, which I feel here. You know, like I'm surrounded by people all the time, but not having a way to effectively communicate all the time has like taken a toll. Definitely. That weird phenomenon of being like alone in a crowd, that I like feel a lot here. I felt like a lot of the themes that I was going with kind of matched the themes that I would see in like memes, like vaporwave memes. So I decided like to try and translate some of that from like a computer art form, like collaging, computer generated artwork, to fine art painting. So obviously there are things that I changed, and like not all of it is going to read as quote vaporwave, like aesthetically, but like I drew inspiration from those feelings, those those colors, that imagery, that kind of like surreal type feeling. Like a lot of people see that like this type of, you know, like vaporwave style, like collaging or artwork in general as kind of like the child of like surrealism. So I, you know, reference surrealism, but surrealism also references like the Italian Renaissance and Baroque styles, and all the way back to like classical, like ancient, like Roman, ancient Greek, which we see a lot in vaporwave imagery anyway. So it's like all like full circle stuff. So I try to include all those things that I like and like stay true to the style of painting that I do. I don't know, does this make sense? I'm like rambling. I don't know what I'm talking about, but some people asked, so there you go. That's it for now. Honestly, I'm glad that that's done. Like, but you know, it's just like on to the next thing now. My professor wants me to do at least like 2 more paintings next semester, which I agree. I wouldn't like, I'm already where I need to be like for graduation requirements and everything, but like it would be weird to like come back and not do anything next semester. You know, I'm planning at least to do 2 large scale paintings next semester after break. So I have to kind of get some of that stuff ready, try and study. That's gonna be written on my tombstone. That's a thing that I'm always worried about. Also, I'm apparently getting diabetes, so there's that. Bye.